and welcome to another live with me. I'm just going to give you guys a few moments to kind of come on in, and I will also make sure that I have my laptop ready so I can see your comments. And then we can begin shortly. So, oh, there we go. I can see my video and I can see me. And I can see there's 5 people so far. Hi, Gail. Hi, Patty. Hi, Janet. Hi, Zanette. How's your Sunday going so far? Hi, Cindy. Yeah, so this week's been really, really nice for me because the weather is amazing on our end. And by amazing, I mean I can actually see the sun. It's kind of deceptive though, because you step out and then it's really cold, but I'm good with just seeing the sun and being on my couch or just sitting and like doing work. So I feel like my mood has really changed. I'm just feeling a lot more optimistic, even though on our end now, apparently our lockdown is not going very, very well. And they are anticipating a third lockdown happening possibly in April. Mind you, we haven't fully come out of this lockdown, so technically it's just overflowing at this point in time. Um, let's see what else. This week I did a little bit of back to basics with the videos. I've done blending and layering, mainly blending, and I feel like a lot of you really, really liked it. So let me know in the chat right now what you guys thought about that, and we can kind of have a mini conversation before I start. Yes, Patty, I did notice the door open, so it's probably one of the kids. They know not to come up, but every now and then, it sort of happens. Keeping it real, this is like a live session. You get to see what's happening live in my house as well. But okay, so I'm seeing people said they really like the leaves and like the whole idea of going light, I'm sure. Oh, it's clouded over in your end, Patty. Interesting. Hi, Judy. Hi, Leona. Zanette's ready to hang out. Yes. Lovely here. A bit snow cold in New Mexico. I miss snow. Oh, yeah, the grass is always greener on the other side, Cindy, I have to say. Oh, well, I heard of an acquaintance apparently who sold their place here and bought a place in Playa del Carmen and then another place up north, and they're gonna move to Mexico and rent this place out. And I was like, oh my gosh, I would totally do that because I go where the sun is. So yeah. Hi, Ritu. Gail says she loved the leaves. Okay, so I think maybe we'll definitely be doing leaves today. Cindy's asking, how do you apply the darker red after the other layers are down so they don't get muddy? Cindy, are you talking about the time lapse that I had in the video where I did like, I think it was a third strand and it was a lot darker? Is that what you're talking about? Let me know, and then I can address that. Zanette, you had a lot of rain the day before yesterday. Well, rain's good because it's like spring. That means your flowers are coming soon. I'm anticipating some rain soon. Apparently, we're having snow this week, so let's see. Yes, Patty says she practiced with paintbrushes, painted sweet peas all morning. Yes. So to talk about the videos that I did this week, this was the second video that came out Saturday, which was yesterday morning. And I just kind of demonstrated some good practice techniques that you can do if you're trying to get used to your brushes. And these were the Filbert, the regular round silver black velvet, and then my mop brush. Those are my most commonly used brushes, which is why I did this. So if you want to get used to your strokes, you can kind of do these and get comfortable with your brushes, and then also get comfortable with the strokes too. So check that video out if you haven't. Cindy, I think this is what you are referring to. Is it this one right here? You've said yes in the comments. So I'm just going to say, this is pretty much the layering bit of the video, which I didn't really focus a whole lot because I did the time lapse. This was a time lapse. And so you're literally doing the exact same technique that you did for the background, but you're taking more potent color, and it's a darker color. And that's what gives you this effect of the this plant or leaf strand being on the foreground as opposed to the others being in the background. So that's what I mean by giving that whole foreground background idea when you use color to show that. So yeah, so we can sort of try something like that today, and I think I have the perfect idea of what we can do. Hi Pamela. Hi Jill. Yes, you let the other layers dry first, and then you go in with the darker colors, and this way you don't get that blend of that layer, the new layer with the background. So hope that helps. Ritu is asking, can you treat some wet on wet florals? So I think I'm going to do a combination of a few things. But before I begin and show you guys, I just wanted to let you guys know, if you've not been following me on Instagram, at Hello Clarice G, I put out a post this week to say I want to try and be ambitious and hit 20K followers on or subscribers on YouTube before my birthday, which is May 30th. So I would love it if you guys have not subscribed to please subscribe to my channel, or share some of your favorite videos on your social media networks to kind of get the word out there about me and help me with my goal. If you can, pretty please, I would love it. And if not, that's totally cool. But I just thought I'd ask because, like Jill also holds to it, if you don't ask, you don't get in life. So here's me asking you for your help. So, okay, so I'm going to flip the camera over and I'm going to show you exactly what we're going to do today. I think we're going to do, I posted an image of this online. I think this would be great for the wet on wet florals. So I think we can do some roses, and then we can do some nice leaves in the background, which are going to be, let me just flip the camera over and tell you guys. So we can work on that. All right. Okay. So I'm standing up so I can quickly do this and then turn it over. There we go. All right. So here's my table. And this is what I had done in one of my Zoom tutorial sessions. And I was literally just showing my student how to kind of do some roses, but kind of loosen up with not only the strokes, but also the blending that happens. So we're going to do these roses because I think a lot of you really, really like this. And then as you can see, the technique that I have done for these little leaves or filler kind of strands around are pretty much what we did over here. That's what we did. So it's literally the same thing, guys, except on this one here for this video, this is the Thursday's video, I did it in a very wildflower kind of pattern. And over here, this is more like just leaves peeking out of the roses. So we're going to do something like this today. And I hope you guys like it. I know more roses, right? I can never get enough of roses. So I'm going to start with the products or supplies that I'm using right now. Let me just make sure that that everything is set up properly so you can see my table well enough. Okay, so I'm using my Canson watercolor paper here. And then I have my palette. I'm going to be keeping the following brushes handy. We're going to use the number 8 Princeton, the mop brush, and then the silver black velvet number 4. So I'm just going to keep those aside. I have my water ready for colors. To get that nice bright effect, we're going to use golden and Madder Lake red. This is the Madder Lake, right? Yes, it is. I just want to make sure. Yes, Madder Lake and golden. And then for the, I'm just going to keep some violet on the side. We might mix some with the Madder Lake and get some nice hues to add some additional florals just for a variety of color, or maybe even in the leaves. And then for the greens, we're going to use the emerald and raw umber. So most of you know I don't like using the emerald by itself, and I have a lot of it, but when I mix it with the umber, I really like the results. So that's what we're going to use because we have bright florals. So I want the greenery to be a little more muted and background-like so we can get that nice effect. All right, okay, great. So I think that is it. Do I have anything? Am I missing anything else to tell you? Okay, paper towel ready just in case, and we're good to go. Okay, so first things first, I have, I think, half a sheet of the 9x12. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that as I'm painting, I am not reaching too much of the edges. Normally, I feel like the painting kind of goes all around for me, but I think I want to leave a nice thick band of white. So if you guys like that effect of having your painting smaller, this way you can frame it, it'll look nice. Try and be a little more concentrated in how big your painting turns out. So let's do about like maybe 3 or 5 roses. Let's just see where the wind takes me with this painting. And then the rest of it will just be like leaves and stuff around it. So we're going to start in the middle for the roses. So the first thing I'm going to do is mix some color. So I think I will be starting off by mixing, I'll use my mop brush to mix the color. So we're going to mix the Madder Lake first. And for those of you, quite a few of you were asking me about the shell palette. This is by Lisi Arts on Instagram. I normally list her Instagram account in the description. And all you need to do is just message her, and she has these available that you can order from her. Okay. So I'm just making sure I got a nice enough amount, and I'm making sure most of the water is off my brush by just kind of pushing it along. And I'm going to keep this brush on the side so it's ready to use. The next color I'm going to take is the golden, and I'm going to mix that over here. Get some water and just kind of push that along. I have some blue here. I'll wipe it off with my fingers. All right, so those are the 2 colors for the roses. And I'm going to keep these handy because what I want to do is for the center, I think I want to dip and get the color directly from the pan and then use the lighter color to go outward. So there we go. So we have, and I'll be using the number 4 for my centers. So now for the green, let's mix a little bit of the green so we have that ready. And for that, I'm going to use the number 8 Princeton. So let's get the umber first, raw umber. And there we go. And I'm actually going to mix, so I'm going to leave some of that here, and I'm mixing a little bit of it over here as well. And then getting my emerald, and let's just mix that in here. So now we have 2 variations of green. Handy and ready. And I think what's going to happen is I'm going to keep my number 2 Escoda handy too, just in case I want to add some tinier leaves at the end. Then the next thing I want to do is get some of that purple So I've washed off most of this. Let's get some of the purple and mix it over here on this end. And now we'll get some of the, and just put some in there. It's become like a burgundy at this point, but let me see if I can get a little more purple involved. And this way it's not too much like the Madder Lake. Got some nice contrast and blending happening. Okay, I think we're good with this, and we're gonna start. Yes, so we're gonna start off by using the number 4, and we're gonna start with doing the C stroke circles, or the comma stroke semicircles, not circles, guys, sorry. So let's start off by getting some of the color directly from my Madder Lake. I'm going to dip the tip in water just to make sure that I get a nice enough flow and it's not too rigid when I put it down to my sheet. I'm also going to keep this handy here because as soon as we're done, then we need to go in and do some brushing around. So time is of the essence to get this nice blend. So we're going to go darker in the center first. And Pamela, the purple is called Violet, and it's from St. Petersburg. All my colors are St. Petersburg. All right, so we're going to start with the center, and we're doing tiny C-stroke circles, or comma stroke circles. Semicircles, sorry, not circles. And then we're just going to do 2 there, a third one here, another one at the top. And then possibly another one over here on this end. Perfect. Now I'm going to go in with this brush. And I'm going to get a little bit of this green, sorry, not green, the golden. And I'm going to start doing these strokes like this. Just touching the edge of the outer strokes that we've done. And then very lightly on the inside, I want these to sort of blend a little bit. So I'm just adding a couple of strokes using the tip of this brush. Because this is the mop brush and you can get quite a bit of outstanding lay of color by using it if you really press down. So now I'm going to go and do one on this side, leaving white space in between, and I'm just adding a little bit of strokes to kind of move the color along. And then I don't want to add the same width of this on this side, otherwise it's going to make my rose massively huge. So now I'm just going to use the tip and add a couple of strokes, which are going to be a lot lighter. As you can see, I'm not getting any additional color on this. And I'm just kind of adding a couple of strokes to kind of show some minor detail to this floral. And then I'm going to leave it at that. And now at this point, you can just take this brush, get some of that orange golden color that you have, and add a couple of strokes on the inside or even on the outside of your floral. In a couple of areas, guys, not everywhere. You just want to have that nice blend happening. Now, because I had red, the Madder Lake red on this already, it's kind of showing up darker than in the example. But let's do the second one and kind of build on that from there. Or you know what, let me try getting some directly on here, and I'm going to add a couple of strokes just on the inside, but making sure I'm not losing my white space, because it's still pretty damp and we'll get a nice blend still. Not bad. Okay, so now I'm going to go and do the same thing on this end. This area is still damp, so I want to get that nice effect of blending. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to reverse it this time. I'm going to put some of this color on the center, the exact same manner that we've been doing. One stroke here, another one here. Then I'm going to get a little bit of that red. Didn't quite show up as much on here, but that's okay. Now taking my mop, just going to make sure I don't have too much of any color on this, just water on it. I'm going to highlight the outer bits of these strokes. And notice how close I've made it to this rose. That's because I want some flow of color and some blending to happen while it is still damp. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that Carmen red, sorry, not Carmen, Madder Lake red. I'm just adding it. Just on the outer bits. And there we go. We have our second rose. And now I'm just going to take, washing off that orange, golden, getting some of that red. And I'm going to add a couple of more details. Not details, but like C strokes on the inside. That's what I mean by adding detail. And I'm adding it on the inside of some of these strokes as well. This is what gives you that nice blend while it is still damp, and you go in and you add a potent stroke of color. I'm just making sure it's blending in properly. Make sure you have enough white space that you're leaving. White space is integral when it comes to loose style of painting, guys, so just keep that in mind. Just going to add some even on this floral here because it's still damp, and it'll highlight the centers quite nicely as well. So just making sure you've got some darker detail on the center before we kind of move on to the next floral. Okay, perfect. So you see how the center just kind of pops out a little bit more compared to the rest, because the background, well, the outer petals are lighter and then the center is darker, so it just really gives it that nice pop. And I'm just going to use a little bit of this water that I have on my mop brush just to kind of give some of these strokes here a little more of a softer feel. You don't have to do that. I just feel like I want to do that for mine. Perfect. And then I'm going to leave it at that. So we've got our two florals. Let's do one more. And let's make that one happening over here on this end. Let's do the, I think I have some of the red on this, right? So let's just do the same thing here. So I'll try and make this floral, this rose, a lot smaller. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then going in with this, I've not taken any color. I was contemplating it. I'm just going to get a little bit of water on the tip and just add it around. And I'm just adding a couple of strokes on the outside to kind of really blend it out. Perfect, that's great. And now I think what I'll do is I'm going to get some of that orange that we have here, the golden, and I'm just going to add it in the center, around the edges a little bit to kind of give it that pop. Maybe on this side so that it kind of gives you a clear definition of this is a completely different floral compared to that one. Now, if you're using better paper than my Canson watercolor, and by better I mean like this is not 100% cotton, you'll notice that your paper remains damp a lot longer, which is nice when you're doing something like this because you need that dampness to kind of get that nice blending happening. So there we go. I like how this has turned out. So we've got 3. I think we can get away by doing like 1, 2, 3, for 5 perhaps. And then this way we've got an odd number. I always say I like to do my florals in odd numbers and then afterwards kind of adding everything around it. So it's either 3 or it's 5. So the other two will have to be a lot tinier, guys. So, okay, so tinier, and let's make it this shade over here, the purple that we have happening. Let's introduce that. Why not? All right, so for this one, let's do one over here. And same technique, couple of strokes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then making sure that my mop brush is washed off properly and with just water on it. I'm going to smooth out the edges so that it gives you that nice soft look. And that's great. I think I'll just get a tad bit of that purple violet directly from the color cake and just add some to the center just to get that enhancing darker shade look. And I'll leave that as is. So we've got 3, 4. Let's do one over here on this side. Maybe I can get a little bit of a blend happening. I'm not quite sure. Let's see. So for this one, let's do some of the, no, I think we should stick with the purple. So I'm going to get some over here, exactly like what we did up there. And then taking this brush, this is going to be clear. I think I can tell you right now, this is going to be a lot softer than any of the other florals. You can just see by the flow, and I think the grain on this side of my paper is a lot something about it is a little bit weird, but that's because I am using this Canson paper. Yeah, so now I'm just going to wash this a little bit, and then I'm going to get some of that red, the Madder Lake red. I'm going to try and see what happens if I add a little bit of it to the edges, just to give it another tone. And I really like how this is looking with it. So I'm just mixing a couple of strands around it. I think it adds something to this purple. It's quite nice. Maybe add a little bit of it here as well. Not overdoing it because I kind of like what's happening on this floral here. So I'll leave that as is. So we've got our 5 florals. So now we can kind of do some leaves. So for the leaves, I think I really like using the number 4 because it gives me some nice thins and shapes. So let's try some of that. So these are our front and center dark elements in our painting. So for the leaves, we're going to try and go a lot lighter. And it's better to do the lighter first and then go darker on top if you want to do some layering. So let's start off with doing the, I'm going to use the brighter green to be the background blending bit. So we're just going to do some fun leaves that are kind of on strands. So here's your, this is where the, what am I trying to say? This is where the last tutorial from yesterday comes in handy. We're doing strokes and linear lines. So if you've practiced, these are helpful. So I've done one, it's pretty dense with water. So I'm going to try and get a little bit of water on the tip of this brush to kind of get a lighter effect when I'm doing the leaves. So literally as I'm doing the leaves, I'm drawing a line with my brush and then extending and getting like a lighter leaf coming out from it. So I hope that is making sense to you guys as I'm explaining it to you. I am drawing the color directly from the stem. I'm not adding anything additional. I want that nice loose effect. So that is why I am doing this. And then I'm just going to get a little bit more of the color because I want a darker looking leaf kind of over there on that end. Okay, perfect. So that's, we've done one here. I think we should do one over on this end here. And I'm just going to add it directly in this area here because it's still damp. And you guys know I like to have some nice blending happening. So it's still ever so slightly damp. So that's perfect. Let's do a couple, enhancing the center of that. Let's do a couple over here. This is also slightly damp. So I'm adding those leaves, and I got some nice flow of pink happening in this green as well. I'll just do one over there on that side, like almost like it's peeking from the background or something. Okay, so we've got some there, here. We've got 3 areas. I think now we can get a little bit of this other green with the raw umber. Let's get some of that mixed on in there. For this, I'm going to do, these leaves are going to be a little more like on strands that just stay up. And let's try and make these that look more like eucalyptus leaves-ish or roundish leaves. And again, you're not giving it a whole lot of detail. You're just kind of giving it some direction, some shape, and color, and kind of pushing it all down to the center. So let's try and make them a little more oval compared to the leaves that we've just done. Now, I normally gravitate to doing the longer leaves because that seems to be my preference. But I'm going to try really hard here. There we go. Okay. And then I'm just doing one at the very bottom to, again, kind of make it seem like it's peeking out from behind the floral or something. And I'm not doing the two-tone mixing like I did in the video on Thursday. Not just yet. I might do it a little bit later, but I want to get some of these leaves in first. So let's do one happening over here on this end. And again, like I said, these are a little more straighter as opposed to falling over, and they're rounded in shape. Pushing all the color down. I'm going to get a little bit of water to get that nice soft effect. So we're fading off as we go downward. Normally we go darker as we go towards the shadowy areas, but I'm trying something different at this point. I'm just seeing someone has asked me a question. Yes, this is the number 4 brush, Lillian. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, let's do one more over on this end here. And I'm trying to make it slightly taller than what we have below, and this is just to kind of give it a little more height compared to all the other elements we have. And now you can see I'm getting a lot looser in my strokes, like I'm leaving some white space in between the leaves. Oh gosh, I've touched this a bit with my finger. There we go, perfect. I kind of like how this turned out best compared to all the others, but that'll happen when you're doing watercolor this way. Okay, so now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a couple of more looser looking leaves outside, and we're just going to add a little bit of color that we have onto them. So for instance, I'm going to go in, I'm going to keep my number 2 handy. And let's add in a little more of that umber. onto the sheet. Actually, before we do the umber, let's use the number 2 and add some really faint faint leaf kind of elements, and then we'll go on top with this. So I'm going to use, which color should I use for this? I think I'm going to use the purple that we have, and I want a very diluted amount of purple, and you're going to see how diluted it's going to look once I put my elements down. So I'm going to do little leaves, kind of like the same thing that we have happening, but on a thinner level, kind of like ferns almost. And again, you can see it's going to be very light because I'm just using the color that I've laid down, and I'm just carrying on as I move downward towards our flowers and pushing down all the color. There we go. So very, very light. I'm going to get a little bit of the Madder Lake Red. I keep saying Carmine because I've been using a lot of Carmine over the last few weeks. And let's do another strand over here on this end. And for these ones, we can just make it like super loose. Like almost like a hint of, you're not quite sure what kind of, these could be flowers, these could be one of those like, what is the name of that flower where it's like very pink and there's like, but you're not quite sure if it's a floral or if it's a leaf or leaves on it. Anyways, that's the idea, to kind of get these little elements in there, and I want them to be light. Let's get some happening over on this end here. And yeah, so we're gonna mimic this one, the fern type of floral or leaf, and very light. You don't even have to connect them, guys. Like you want to leave them super loose, just don't even connect them to the stem. I think that's nice compared to the connection that I have here. Keeps it looser looking. And let's do this style one more over here. And I like to give these strands some direction and flow and movement to the painting. It kind of adds something nice. So when you kind of, instead of keeping them all straight up, just give them some direction. So this one's kind of going off on this end. And you can add a little bit of that reddish color in between here, kind of give it that two-tone look. It blends in well, as you can see. So it's like purple to pink, which is quite pretty actually. And you can see how much color I'm using. It's really not a lot at all. So I've got 3 here. Let's do one over on this and here. And now for this one, I could probably do the pinkish version towards the top as opposed to the bottom. Really, there are no rules when you're painting this kind of style and so loose. As long as you're happy and you're excited with the outcome, that's all that matters. And I like this, so I'm running with it. All right, so we've got those. We've got one of those pinky ones. So let's do a couple more of those, and then we can go in with the green like I was getting ready to do. So let's do one of those over here on this end. So going downward, and we're doing like very, very loose kind of leaves. You can turn your sheet over. if it's easier for you to kind of make things, make the strokes better. And this one doesn't have to be filled throughout the stem. It could just be like a couple of them and then like leaving it bare. So we've got one here, one there. Let's do one over on this end here, peeking out. And these are going to be drying up to look a lot lighter. And that is what I want. And let's just do another one kind of very faint happening right here. Yeah, and I think that's good enough. Now, as I was mentioning, we can do some of the filler sort of florals just across. And I'm using some of the raw umber. And I'm going to keep the number 8 handy. And for this, I think we'll use, we've got quite a bit of purple happening. I think we can use a little bit of the English Madder Lake red, not English red, sorry. And so I got my number 8. I'm going to do this for the stems. So we're going to create a couple of stems, and these can look like those, not delphiniums, but they kind of look like delphiniums, I guess. So it's like long strands and it's got florals coming out, protruding. So I'm just adding the leaf or the stem in parts. So I'm adding a couple of parts, but I'm leaving white space in between because then I'm going to go in with the color and add it in between. So I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. If you want to hold off and just watch me first, that might be helpful. Or if you just want to kind of go along with me, that's up to you. So I've added that, and now I'm going in with this. I'm going to get some of that color. And I'm adding a couple of strands here. Strokes, not strands. And adding some over here as well. Just like that. We get a little bit more of this. There we go. So that's the idea. I think some of these are a little bit too big, but we can always fix that as we do others. All right, so let's just do a couple of these to kind of end off the composition that we have. I'm adding the leafy looking bits at the bottom where the florals are. And I'm just adding a couple of like strands this way. So, and then I can go in with the color and add that in there. So getting some of that. This time I'm going to be extra careful to make sure that my strands at the top, the strokes at the top are tinier compared to the ones at the bottom. So we have the small to large happening. And then just leave it at that. Maybe just add some attaching green strands to the, not a lot of space to add them, that's okay. So we've got 1, 2, let's do another one kind of poking out on this side. And the leaf at the top. Just adding a couple of strokes at random as we go towards the bottom. Then I'm going to get some of the pinky red, adding tiniest ones at the top. And as we go below, we're getting bigger. And then I'm just going to add some attachments from the pink to the stem and then leave it that way. Okay, so that's that. I think we can also do just a few over here and here. Getting some color directly from the palette because I would like it to be a tad bit darker. And just adding some tiny bits here and there. And then kind of attaching them to the stem. So we're doing the exact same thing that we've been doing for the past 3. So we've done one here. I'm going to kind of taper off this end, maybe even this one, to kind of make it seem like it's trailing off. Perfect. And then let's do one over here. And then going in with the number 8 and just adding some color. Some tinier ones at the top, like I was mentioning. And then it gets bigger as you go downward. And then just attaching some stems to these flowers. And that's good. Okay, so I think we can even give this like a base so it looks like it's sitting in a pot or something. For that, I think it would be nice to use some of the umber or the green that we have. And then this way it'll balance out the color setting quite nicely. So what I'm going to do first is I will do a lay of color. And if you don't want to mess it up, I would say just take a pencil and just do a rough area for where this base is going to be. And let's make it very simple, guys. Let's just make it a very like small enough rectangular looking base, I guess. I'm just going to do mine this way. Right, perfect. I think I like that. And then I'm going to take my number 8 and I'm going to take some water and dampen the area. So I'm just brushing some water in this area because once I go in with my color, it's going to kind of all over the place. And I don't want it to touch my florals. And I kind of want it to be contained within this area. So it's good to kind of just maybe even bend your head towards the light and see where you're putting the color. Leave some white space if you want to, because then it'll give it that more organic look. Doesn't have to be completely full of color, if that makes any sense. Okay, so I've left a couple of white spaces. And now I'm going to go in with the color. So I'm going to take I'm going to take my number 4. I'm getting some of that umber, and I'm just going to lay it down and allow it to do its thing of blending. I'm just going to help it by adding the stroke over, mixing it with some of that other green that I have as well. And I'm just going to add a couple of dots, like with the brush, to kind of allow it to do its blending bit. The area is nice and damp. And it's fine if the upper area is darker compared to everything else, because you know what? That can be indicative of shadow in a very, very loose manner, because we're not trying to be realistic or perfect in our painting, but we're just, would be nice to have that minor consistency with, okay, it's darker area because the florals are over it, kind of. So now you can see this area is already dry of mine. So I'm just going to take my number 8 and help the color along. And move this color around as well. If you want to give it like some linear patterns, you can absolutely do that with water and it'll give you a nice blended look, soft look rather. And I'm just making sure the bottom is good. Now I'm going to go in and get some of the color with the number 4. And I'm just going to add a nice line to this edge so that when it dries, it's nice. It's like a hard edge on this side and darker compared to the other side. But it looks like this side might be turning out to be darker. One side should be darker is what I'm trying to say. And now if you want to give this a shadow at the bottom, what I would say is take your number 8, making sure you just have water on it. You just touch a very little bit of the bottom and kind of just extend to the side a little bit. And you see the flow of green. That's what kind of extends into like being a shadow. And if you want a little bit more of the flow, get more of that green. Don't be shy and add it to the bottom. Because the water is still there, it's going to seep out into the area of the shadow that you've just done. And if not, just add more water and have it seep through. And if still nothing is happening, like nothing is happening here, help it along and add some with your brush. And then I'm washing off most of it, and just with just water, I'm just going to smoothen things out. And there we go. We are pretty much done with this. I'm just gonna enhance this bit so it doesn't look random. Adding a little bit of highlight shadow detail here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so yes, this is it. If you know what, it would be nice to kind of get some splatter. I love my splatter, guys. So I'm going to add a little bit of water to the greens that I have happening. And I'm going to do a little bit of splatter with the number 4 and the number 8 so I can get a variation in color. So I'm getting some of that here, and I'm just going to do it in the green areas. A bit here and there. That's lovely. I love how that looks. Now there's more water, which is why I'm not getting smaller splatter bits here, but that's okay. More water on my brush, that is. I'm even going to get a little bit of that purple. Why not? Let's see what I can get. Get a little bit of that on here. Oh, so pretty. Love it. Adding some there, a little bit there. I don't even think we need the number 8 at this point, guys. I think this is good. I'm just going to have the splatter go off to the edge. I like how that some of that purple's kind of seeped into this area too. Okay, great. There we go. And we are done. So this is the full result of what we've done today. So I'm going to switch the camera over and so you can see my face and I can see your questions if you guys have any, and we can go from there. There we go. All right. Okay. No worries. I see someone said I got here late. I will have to watch again. Yep. Anyone watching this later, just check out the replay because it gets posted onto my channel. So let me see if I can read and answer your questions. Where did I leave off? Um, I saw a brush cleaner soap in a store. Do you use that on your brushes when all done? This is by Julie. Julie, I don't use anything outside of water to clean my brushes, and I've been lucky so far. I think some of the ladies on here do a little more maintenance for their brushes. I think Patty's well accustomed with it, and I think maybe even Pamela. Jill, I don't know if any of you guys can address what Julie's asking. Oh, Ritu says there was a blur. Guys, was there a blur? I hope it wasn't for too long because sometimes I get so carried away with painting that I don't even see that. Okay. Has anyone purchased the shell palette? Has anyone had success in getting the surface to not beat up? Okay, then there's a big word in there, stain. Okay, sorry, Melissa. I cannot address that. But it does beat up ever. No, actually, it doesn't beat up if you see the if you see how if you I don't know if you were able to see my shell when I was painting, but it seemed absolutely fine for me, so I don't know if anyone has gotten their shell yet and has been able to kind of use it and answer Melissa's question here. There's a bit of talk about the shell. Play-Doh staining. Wow, that's like a new term I've never heard before. Okay, there's a full conversation going on about the shell, so I'm just gonna go down because I think everyone's been able to. Melissa is Patty. Patty. This is your Melissa, right? So why did I even mention your name? I just feel a little bit silly right now. Hi, Lydia. Uh, uh, Knox, thank you so much. How lovely these nails look. I'm assuming you're talking about my nails. Thank you. Okay, so it looks like a lot of people really like this. I'm glad. Uh, Pamela says she does the same with her roses. After fifth, just perfect. Yep, agreed. Um, Thanks, Kathy. Glad you like the color palette. Thanks, Artie. Yeah, absolutely. Guys, when I am talking about the colors that I use, these are just suggestions. If you don't want to use the colors I use in your painting, please use the ones that you really like. I just give it for reference in case you like my color schemes, which kind of are more towards the pinky side, pinky purple side. Delicate. Okay, awesome. I think no one really has any other questions, but so I guess this is it. Thanks guys for watching. If you do think of any other questions, please feel free to add it in the comments below once the video is posted. But otherwise, I really appreciate you guys joining me this Sunday again to paint with me. This has been fun. I hope it's been fun for you as well. Like I mentioned, if you like this video, please do share it or like it, subscribe to my channel, all that fun stuff that people normally say to you. And I want to see your work, guys. So please take a picture of it, send it to me in a private message if you're not comfortable sharing it on social media. I am on Instagram, so hello Clarice G, or on Facebook, which is Claire Scomes Designs. And yeah, I love seeing your work. I know it's kind of funny why YouTube doesn't have the feature. Like, why can't you just post the picture in the comments? It would make so much more sense and everyone's life a lot easier, in my opinion. But I guess maybe they want to keep that for other platforms. Hi, Karen. Ella. Lily is asking, do your pans crack? Do you mean the watercolor? Because yes, they do. I don't know if you can see that. There's massive cracks happening in there. Or did you mean the palettes? Sorry, Lillian. Zanette, I was happy with 4 roses. Great. Some people are happy with 3 as well. But the designer in me likes the odd numbers. I've mentioned this many times to you guys. Judy's asking, Claire's, can you accept my request to join a group on Facebook? Judy, the group on Facebook that is private is for members and patrons. The other group that's open for everyone else who's not a member or patron is the regular, it's not a group, it's the page. It's Claire Scombs Designs. So I hope that makes sense. I think I'm going to change the name of that group just so people know that it's a private group because it's for patrons and members. It's something that's offered when you become a patron. All right. Okay, I think that's it. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining me, and I hope you have a lovely Sunday with your family. And my daughter's turning 10 tomorrow. It's a big number. I can't believe it. 10 years ago today, I think I was getting ready for the worst pain in my life, but it was all worth it. A lot of you are moms, so I'm sure you kind of can relate to that. All right, I'll keep you posted about how birthday goes and how things happen when we meet again next Sunday for our live. So thanks, guys, for joining. Bye.